Hello, everyone. Today we're going to take a look at the Rolling Stones record Undercover. Sometimes I call this one Undercover of the Night. I don't know why. Maybe it's because the title track was Undercover of the Night. But this was released in November of 1983. This record coming after their 81-82 tour, which they were touring off Tattoo You. And this is an interesting record because it came at a time where music had drastically changed from their last record with the advent and explosion of MTV, and now you've got all these younger bands, whether they're pop rock or metal, that are coming up. Guys like, Van Halen, Motley Crue, Rat, and different bands like that, and even other pop bands like Duran Duran. All these guys are younger. They're the new thing. They're the new faces of MTV. And you got the Stones who are getting a little bit up there. They're getting, I know they seem young now here in their 40s, but they're, getting into that early 40s age range, maybe some in their late 30s like Ronnie, but they're going to release this record Undercover. And of course, they don't tour behind this record. It's just released. They make a few videos, and Mick goes on to do some solo stuff, and they just kind of, that 80s period where they're not getting along, but it looks like they put out a pretty good effort with this record. I tend to like it a lot more than other people do. I think it's an underrated record generally in their catalog, but it's, maybe not their best, but they some interesting songs on here, and songs that I think a lot of people may not know, or maybe they just kind of, have heard the title track, Undercover of the Night, and then just kind of move on. But I generally like it. I think it's a pretty good record. So, side one, back when we were buying albums or whatever, we had sides. But anyways, kind of opens. Probably the most famous song on the record is Undercover of the Night. Pretty dark lyrics and an interesting groove to it. Some people call it, the sister song of Sympathy for the Devil, maybe redone for the 80s, but it's pretty cool song. I tend to like it. They've played it live a few times. It seems to get over fairly well live, and there's a lot going on during this song, a lot of different, electronic drums and different effects and different things like that that tend to make it a pretty cool song. But overall, maybe for me, one of the better songs on the record, definitely. It's sort of different to open up a record Undercover of the Night with this kind of dark, gloomy song compared to the previous record. Tattoo You opens up with the famous Start Me Up, very upbeat, fun song. This is a little more darker at a time in the 80s where everything's sort of glamming up a little bit, kind of getting at the initial stages where people are glamming up. You can start to see that present itself more into 84, 85, 86-ish. But anyways, we move on to She Was Hot, which is, you might say like a typical Stones, Chuck Berry kind of rocker song. I like it. It's pretty good. Maybe not one of their best, but it definitely rocks. It's in there. It's a good song, but it's sort of one of those, you hear it, you like it, but then maybe kind of forget about it after a little while, after you haven't heard it in a little while. Then we move on to Tie You Up, The Pain of Love. Now this one feel, I'll say this one is like an underrated song. It's a pretty good rocker. It sounds like kind of an 80s sort of rock band, not heavy metal band, but rock band kind of rocker type song. And I don't think I've ever heard it on the radio at all anywhere, but it definitely, I think, could have been a single. I know they did videos for, Undercover, She Was Hot, and Too Much Blood, but this one I don't believe had a video, and I don't believe they did videos for any of the others. But this one, maybe given some radio play, could have been fairly decent. And of course, you got the Keith song, Wanna Hold You. Another one I think is really, really good. It's one of my favorite Keith songs. A lot of people, they kind of dismiss it. They think it's a little goofy, but I really think it works pretty good. It's maybe if you redid this song with some more, bigger production. It sounds a little, I don't know, like, I don't want to say weak, but like it just missing a little something, but I definitely like the song quite a bit. Feel On Baby, another song that's, a pretty decent song. Another one that people may listen to and kind of forget about, but it's a pretty nice, pretty song, kind of reggae style. The only thing that kind of hurts it goes on for quite a bit. I think it's around like 5 minutes long. So it's a fairly long ordeal to get through that, but if you're not really into that reggae kind of thing that the Stones do, then we'd be on to side two and another really sort of strange song, but Too Much Blood. It's you could almost say it's a quintessential 80s kind of song. There's a lot going on. Mick is, I don't want to say, well, he's kind of rapping, but not really. Kind of, sort of reminiscent of Paul Stanley and No All Hell's Breaking Loose and Kiss. Kind of, I don't know which one of those came out first, but he's kind of singing his way through it. Then you get into the chorus, and of course, there's some electronic drums. A bunch of different sounds, and once again, kind of a dark lyric song. A lot of dark imagery. The video is pretty dark, and it's just, from what I believe, I don't know if MTV banned it or what the case was, but that one, it's definitely an interesting song in their catalog. I don't know. I've never found anything where they've played it live. Maybe they have. I know they've played a lot of their stuff live in recent years and just trying different things out. But if anybody knows if this was ever played live, I'd definitely like to hear it. Pretty beat up, another good, pretty straightforward rocker. I think it's a little bit, maybe another underrated song that you might say. It's got, a good beat to it. It's pretty solid. And one of my favorites, the other, Too Tough. I like the riff. I like the lyrics. The whole thing. It just sounds like a good Stones rocker, kind of like a song. Yeah, I don't know. People might, if I say, well, it sounds like it could be like on a Sticky Fingers or Goat's Head Soup song with a little different production, but it kind of has that feel to it. Just it kind of just rocks its way through. I think the riff is really, really good. And the next one is All the Way Down. And this song, it's kind of a, I don't want to say throwaway, but it kind of sounds like the type of song that should be on Emotional Rescue. It just, the way it sounds, kind of sounds like that. Like when you listen to those songs on Emotional Rescue, it kind of sounds like they, could have recorded it for that record and brought it back for this. I'm not sure, but it's not bad. It's a pretty decent song. And the very last one, It Must Be Hell, another one, dark lyrics. There's some percussion instruments going on in there and different things going on, but it's not bad. And one that I don't really listen to that much. It kind of falls, at the end of the record and kind of, it's not bad, but maybe kind of forgettable. So all in all, I think Undercover of the Night, well, whether I go again, Undercover of the Night, but Undercover, it's a pretty decent, interesting album. If you're a Stones fan, maybe you were a Stones fan from the 60s, 70s, and you kind of checked out in the 80s, or maybe you're a younger person who, started getting into the Stones even in, the 2000s, and your parents were listening to them, but you never really listened to this sort of era of them. It's a pretty good representation. It kind of, sounds like an 80s record. I don't know what would have happened to them if they would have toured on this record, if they would have stayed together or broken up, but as it goes, it'd be a while before they would tour again, but it's definitely worth checking out. Say the highlights on it for me are probably Undercover of the Night. Too Tough, I think, is a great rocker. Just, and Too Much Blood for its sheer just strangeness to it. And the underrated Tie You Up, The Pain of Love, and Keith's song Wanna Hold You. It's probably better than some of Keith's other songs that he's done before or later. He's got some pretty good ones, but this one just, and they've played it live and it sounds pretty good. I definitely like it. Well, anyways, I'd like to hear what you think about this record. I like it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Or are you just kind of indifferent? Or Maybe you just, you think they shouldn't have made it. They should have just taken a break. Who knows? Whatever you think, that'd be interesting to hear. Well, anyways, thanks for sticking around this long, and we'll see you in the next one.